Good afternoon. I'm George Latimer, Westchester County Executive, and welcome to our Westchester Weekly Update. Today is Monday, September 9th. I'm going to be joined by our Deputy County Executive, Ken Jenkins, and we'll go through a few of the issues that are at hand here in Westchester County. We have some conversation about some of our programs for our seniors in Westchester County on our docket today. We're going to talk a little bit about our efforts to attract film industry business into Westchester County. We'll tell you how we intend to commemorate the 9/11 tragedy over the course of this week as we approach the 23rd anniversary of that date. Ken will give the update on the various parks, events, and activities. We'll have a couple of other little things to mention. Our municipal partner visitor this week is the mayor of the village of Ossining, Rika Levin. The village of Ossining is a 30,000 person population, one of the largest villages in the county. And when you see a village of that size, you could wonder why it isn't a city, because we have cities that are less people in it than the village of Ossining does. But nonetheless, she has a dynamic environment to operate in. It's a very exciting community. It's known for much more than Sing Sing, as it was once known all those years ago. So she'll give you an update on things that relate to the village of Ossining. I bring you the mayor of the village of Ossining, Rika Levin. Rika, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you, County Executive. Thank you for having me here. Thank you to County Executive, Deputy County Executive, great friends of Ossining. We have 30,000 people on about 3.2 square miles on the side of the Hudson River. It has a lot of challenges. It also has, as we were discussing earlier with some folks in the room, lots of free concerts and lots of arts and lots of movies have been done there and a lot of wonderful events. All year round, actually. I've spoken about housing in the past and other topics, immigration, etc. But today I want to focus on our downtown, which is really part of our downtown and waterfront. For over 2 decades, the village has been considering a number of interrelated downtown and waterfront revitalization projects, designed in large part to address the negative consequences of urban renewal, which happened a few decades ago, but some of the river towns are still suffering from some of those consequences. Each of the projects that we are working on its own is huge for a village of our size. Unlike cities, villages have really different dynamics and have their own challenges. But collectively, the many projects that we have undertaken since 2021 have just been life-changing for our businesses, for tourists, for the growth in our population. And unlike cities and some of our other municipalities, we don't have a large corporate base to work off of. So we really do look at what benefits our residents and businesses and what can we do to enrich their lives. So it's with this thought that the board and staff did much in community engagement across our community during COVID, before COVID, since COVID, etc., and really came up with a number of projects. It was when we received a $10 million grant from the state to further the DRI efforts that really all of our wishes became a reality, and the journey we're on right now. We're working on 24 projects. We received $10 million and leveraged that into an additional $50 million in grants. And I just want to highlight some of the programs and where we are with them. We are looking to continue building affordable housing units. We're going to have probably a couple of hundred of them. You're going to hear more about seniors. And one of the projects is fully dedicated to affordable senior housing in one of the lots that's been sitting empty for 2 decades. So we're very happy all the way around. So are the local businesses and our residences. And we have seen a growth in aging in place community in Ossining. And so that is one of the demographics we really do look for to use the funding and improve their life and their living conditions here in Westchester. Together, the projects also look to build I would call it state-of-the-art water treatment plant. Drinking water is a big issue across this country. It's not a sexy issue. Mayors don't really like to stand up and talk about rotting infrastructures in the East Coast or, in cities. Not a nice topic, not fun, but when you're building housing and police departments and community centers and hospitals, really part of the responsibilities is to talk about infrastructure. And so we right now are in the middle of, and we hope to get help from the county. We absolutely are getting help from the state and our representatives there and our own water rates is that we are actually looking to build and started and did the groundbreaking just a few weeks ago for the largest of its kind drinking water plant revitalization on the East Coast. I didn't know it was the East Coast till I did the press conference, and then I got a bunch of engineers calling me to tell me that I misspoke. It's not the Northeast, it's the largest on the East Coast. We're very excited. We also hope this will be a model for other municipalities in Westchester County and have more of the county, state, and federal government involved, because with all of the infrastructure changes, which is what our focus, and all the requirements now to upgrade all these systems, we think the municipality should really take a look at these infrastructure improvement. That is a $105 million project. It was expected to be 37 when I was a trustee and signed off on it. So things change over time, especially after COVID. Infrastructure changes become more of a commitment than we had thought it would be, but we're very excited about it, and we think that we are going to become a model village for many municipalities. So that is what I wanted to focus on. We have 24 projects, but it would take this entire 2 hours for me to go through that. So I've learned not to do that, but I did want to give you a little sampling of some of the things that we're working on in Ossining. I do invite everyone that's listening to this, and will listen to it afterwards, to come all year round to Ossining and enjoy our waterfront and all of the new environments that we are building. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you very much. That's Madam Mayor Rika Levin from the village of Ossining. I was just in Ossining earlier today for a stop at the Caputo Senior Center, and also had a chance to dine at the fabulous Double D Diner on Route 9. Always a stopping off place. Most folks know I generally will seek out the diner wherever it may be. But we appreciate you coming and talking about what's happening in Ossining. Ossining does have an incredible waterfront. In fact, almost all of our river communities do. Each one's a little bit different. Almost all of them have waterfront parks. Engle Waterfront Park in Ossining is the site for a host of different activities and events, and we hope you take her up on the offer to go visit in Ossining. We're happy to have you here. And just to give you an idea, when we have this program this year, we've been doing this now for the last 4 years, 5 years. We have had so far speaking to us here since the first of this year, the supervisor of the town of Cortland, supervisors of the towns of Lewisboro, Ossining, Bedford, Pelham Town, and we've had North Castle supervisor here, Newcastle supervisor from here speaking to us. Cities of New Rochelle, White Plains have visitors, mayors of villages, and not only Ossining, but Ardsley, Irvington, Rybrook, on and on, Briarcliff Manor, and so forth. So this has been a forum for our local municipal partners to come and join us and talk about their community. As I've often said, to the greatest extent possible, we try for Westchester County to be a partner in government with the local governments. That has not always been the case, nor the philosophy. Each administration has its own way of operating, and we have certain corporate interests in the county that differ from the towns, the villages, and the city's corporate interests. But we're all sibling governments, brothers and sisters of different sizes. We're the largest, but we all fall under the state structure of government. It's the state government, in this case the state of New York, that creates counties, cities, villages, towns. If you lived in any other state, you recognize that there are some states that don't have county government. There's some states that don't have a village level of government. Everyone's a bit different. But if we can cooperate, find resources to deal with problems, the people who live in a particular home might live in the village of Ossining, but they also live in the village, in the town of Ossining, and they also live in the county of Westchester. So to the extent that we can harmonize that efforts. And the great success in getting the DRI funds is very important. We're talking about that in the other communities that have it, Peekskill, New Rochelle, and I'm missing one, New Rochelle, Peekskill, White Plains, most recently. And those are a tremendous influx of money from the state to help make major changes. So we're very happy that Ossining has that opportunity. Thank you for being with us. I want to mention one quick story before I ask Ken to take us into the next story. We just have gotten some word that there was a fatality last night on the Hutchinson River Parkway. Unfortunately, a wrong-way driver entered the parkways actually early in the morning hours this morning, 5 a.m., and the driver of the vehicle that was driving in the wrong direction was under alcoholic influence. hit a passenger car head-on and killed the driver of the passenger car that they hit. So the details of this will come out. The county police responds. They're responsible for policing all the different parkways. We've worked very hard to try to eliminate wrong-way driving. We did a whole project a couple of years ago with additional signage on the Bronx River Parkway because it was estimated that about half of the wrong-way drivers are making a bad decision because they can't tell where the proper entrance to the parkway is. The parkways of Westchester County were built in the 1920s and the 1930s, so they don't have the interstate highway advantages that make it harder for you to drive in the wrong direction. Not impossible, because there have been some. But we've been able to reduce that incidence where we can. But half of the drivers that are wrong way are those who are under the influence of alcohol. And in this particular tragedy, all of this will be adjudicated out in the courts. But apparently, an inebriated driver who was not in control of his faculties got in driving in the wrong direction, southbound on the northbound Hutchinson River Parkway, and took a life. So it reminds us that life is very fragile, and at any point in time, it might end. And so we try to do what we can do as a government to reduce the amount of opportunity for those things to happen. And we also mourn those that we lost as fellow humans, that these kind of tragedies do happen in the society, and they're terrible when they do happen. I wanted to make sure I reported that to you so you're aware of it. Next up, we'll move to a happier discussion, some of the things that we're doing with our seniors and our livable communities element. And Ken Jenkins, our Deputy County Executive, will do the lead-in.
Thanks, George. Certainly, at this particular time of year, it is always a fantastic opportunity when we have a Department of Senior Programs and Services just having wrapped up another fantastic year at a Saxon Woods pool party and barbecue. But today we want to talk about the 10th annual Livable Communities celebration and Aging Village Fair. This is going to be the 10th annual one. It's led again by our Department of Senior Programs and Services. This particular event will host exhibitors that reflect the extensive Livable Communities Village network, including health-related agencies, community-based agencies, and service organizations, among other valuable resources. This, you have to register, but the registration entitled participants to a free admission and on-site parking, as well as complimentary light breakfast and lunch. This fair is going to take place on Tuesday, September 17th. That's next Tuesday, September 17th, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. in the Mount Pleasant Community Center, which is on Loza Drive in Valhalla. And here to give us all the information about that is our Program Administration for the Aging, Jennifer Crawford. So come on up, Jennifer.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Deputy County Executive Jenkins. Good afternoon. I'm Jennifer Schwartz Crawford, a program administrator and a social worker with the Westchester County Department of Senior Programs and Services. I'm here to talk about a wonderful annual event for Westchester's older adults, the 10th annual Livable Communities Celebrate Aging Village Fair, coming up on Tuesday, September 17. It'll be held at the Mount Pleasant Community Center in Valhalla from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. The Livable Communities Annual Village Fair began over 10 years ago as a way to bring our village network together. Currently, we have 389 partner villages that represent over 385,000 members. These villages are not necessarily geographic locations. Rather, they're like-minded groups, agencies, houses of worship, and professionals who share interests. And they share the common goal of building and sustaining a good quality of life for all generations of Westchester County residents. The fair's theme is mind, body, and spirit. Utilizing our exhibitors, entertainment, and interactive activities, we've developed a holistic approach to promote social connectedness, networking, education, and fun. This year, the Village Fair will feature the Scarborough Singers, flamenco dancing, and the Arts Mobile created by Arts Westchester, and more. Raffles will be held throughout the day for those lucky winners. Our exhibitors reflect our extensive Livable Communities Village network and include health-related agencies, as well as community-based service organizations, as well as other important resources. We aim to make this event as accessible as possible, with free admission and free on-site parking. Registration is strongly suggested and entitles you to a complimentary light breakfast and lunch. I'd like to thank our silver sponsors, Mount Sinai Selikoff Centers for Occupational Health, NYSARC Trust Services, and St. John's Riverside Hospital, as well as our partner sponsors, the Westchester Public-Private Partnership for Aging Services, the Livable Communities Connections Coordinators, and the Mount Pleasant Community Center. Please feel free to contact me for more information at 914-813-6263 or by email at jqsu@westchestercountyny.gov. Thank you.
Thanks, Jennifer, and certainly Commissioner May Carpenter, certainly collect Phipps in the House, and we want to make sure that we have everyone understanding that we have such a dynamic organization in our senior programs and services, and the combination with the public-private partnership. Again, it's so many great things that happened. 2,000 people came out last week to hang out with us in Saxonwood Park to sing, dance, and hang out with the county executive, and making sure that we have all of the services is a great opportunity for the 10th annual Livable Communities Celebration in Mount Pleasant. Again, make sure to register because we want to know how many folks are coming. It's strongly recommended. Heck, it's mandatory. Make sure that you register ahead of time, and you can actually call as well. The number is up on the screen. So again, thanks so much, Jennifer, for coming in and doing that. Let's flip over to one more other outstanding opportunity County Executive Latimer pointed out earlier, which is Real Ready Westchester. And we know we have so many dynamic things that happen in Westchester County with the film that happens throughout the county. We have so many celebrities that live in Westchester County, but Westchester County has tremendous opportunities here, and this is a valuable program. So our County Tourism Film and Director Natasha Caputo, and certainly our County Director of Policy and Programs for Small Businesses and Chambers of Commerce, Sherry Rosen Asher, will come and discuss the upcoming Real Ready Westchester virtual event. Come on out, ladies.
Thank you so much, Deputy County Executive Ken Jenkins. Hi, we just talked about film and how important it is. Let me tell you, it's a $2 billion economic activity and business in your local communities. And the success of filming in Westchester on the big screen is really because of our residents, our diverse communities, our different landscapes. So working with Sherry and developing the first ever, really, it's a virtual boot camp. And this is Real Ready Westchester. We want our small businesses, our chambers of commerce, and bids to join us on this free virtual web workshop. You can email me. I hope to get many emails, ncaputo@visitwestchesterny.com to join us. And this workshop is designed to hear from New York State Film Office what it takes, how to attract, how to join our vendor list, how to join the state's vendor list, and making Westchester even more of a stage and activity here throughout the county. I just want to say, I said about $2 billion. It also employs 6,700 Westchester County residents. So it's jobs, it's economic impact, and we are building this out to have a very interactive workshop and a Q&A. And it's such good partnerships that we have here. And I think, Sherry, talk about our chambers and how they can get more involved.
Thank you so much. As my very long title said, that Deputy County Executive, I'm the Director of Policy and Programs for Small Business and Chambers of Commerce. And while it's a very long title, what's really amazing about the fact that I do this job is that the county executive created this position because he recognizes how important the small business owner is to the vibrancy and the health of the county as a whole. So we have, for the last 6.5 years, however long we've been doing this, coming up with different ways to help the small businesses. So whether it was grants coming out of COVID, whether it was multi-chamber events to get people on board, whether it was sharing ideas, doing things for education, working with other departments. We work with the Office for People with Disabilities and our Diverse Abilities Job Fair. I love working with Natasha, and film is big business for Westchester, but it could be big business for small business. So I really appreciate the chambers and everything that they do to help all of their members, and this is something that could help take everybody to the next level.
Thank you. And we'll have a toolkit as a follow-up, so you have to register. ncaputo@visitwestchesterny.com. Love to hear from you. Thank you.
Thank you both, Natasha and Shari, for your work. And I think it's important to reemphasize something that Shari said, which is that the efforts for economic development include a wide range of activities, particularly focusing on small businesses. Many times, the traditional thought of economic development focuses on large corporations, which Westchester has had more than its success in, going back historically 60 years. But what we've seen now in the last number of years, certainly in the aftermath of COVID, is that it's the growth of smaller businesses that started with an individual, an idea, 5 people, 25 people, that grows, that represents what hires people who need jobs and what advances our county as an attractive location. And for the same reasons that Natasha pointed out for filming, so are we attractive to businesses. The proximity to New York City, but the difference in our lifestyle from New York City. And I don't know how many times this happened to you on a television or a movie show you watch and you see a scene that you know is from, the hometown that you live in, and you start yelling at the TV, "Oh my God, that's Larchmont Avenue," or something like that. But the bottom line is that represents, as she said, a significant economic driver in the county. People are employed in that industry. People are employed in industries that serve that industry. When you have a film crew come and set up shop, and you've seen it happen with the lights and the big tractor trailers, all of those people are getting takeout food. Some of those people are staying in hotels in the area. Some of them are going out after work to enjoy after-hours activity in the area. So all of that is valuable. And so Natasha, and with Shari's coordination and assistance between those two things, we're very happy to have those initiatives on board. Very important to us. Want to highlight something that we just did this past week, which we thought was a very important recognition for a person who had contributed very, very large amounts of policy improvements into Westchester County. This past week, we indicated that we were going to introduce legislation to the Westchester County Board of Legislators for their approval to name what we commonly call the North and the South County Trailways into a singular Westchester County Trailway that traverses the western side of the county. It follows mostly the route of what was once a Putnam Railroad, a branch of the rail system that no longer was used for freight and for passenger service, but that the North and South County Trailway would be renamed as the Westchester County Trailway in honor of Andrew P. O'Rourke. So it's the Andrew P. O'Rourke Westchester County Trailway. Former County Executive O'Rourke served for 15 years as County Executive of Westchester County from 1983 until the end of 1997. My tenure in the beginning tenure of the Westchester County Legislature overlapped with Andy's service as County Executive, and the accomplishments of his administration were significant and were many. And in recognizing him, we recognize him for accomplishments that occurred that most of us don't attribute to the leadership of any one particular individual. It was Andy O'Rourke that did that had the force of personality to get the major renovation done at the Westchester County Airport. Those of us who go into the terminal today see a terminal that looks, fairly nice, but it isn't sized for the amount of population we have now with TSA and so forth. You would have to have been a resident of Westchester County over 40 years ago to remember that terminal was once a Quonset hut that was used originally for that airport when it was used as a military airport during World War II for civilian air protection. That turned into a commercial airport in the late 40s, but the infrastructure of that airport did not improve until Andy O'Rourke got a referendum through by the voters of Westchester County, and that terminal was built. The complete renovation of the Westchester County Center occurred during his tenure in the 1980s. Now, the County Center was built, I think, in 1930, and has a beautiful Art Deco look to it. But at that point, it was 50 years old, was deteriorating, and it took a massive redo, a gut renovation almost, in order for the County Center to come back to life. And it did. And subsequently, the County Center that we have today, which needs another redo, after 40 some odd years, was brought back to life by what Andy O'Rourke did. And he did so many different things, innovative areas and efforts. So we wanted to honor him and his record of county executive achievement by naming after him something that he was very involved in the creation of, which is the North and South County Trailway. We want to recognize that former County Executive Aldo Bello played a significant role in that as well. He has been memorialized as the Alfred B. Del Bello Muscoot Farm facility, because that was one of his great accomplishments, bringing that to Westchester County as a major recreational facility. But Al had a lot to do with the North and South County Trailways as well. We want to give credit to former Mayor Angelo Martinelli of Yonkers, who was critical in the obtaining of the land in Yonkers in the South County Trailway. And the South County Trailway and the North County Trailway do not completely connect. It's broken up by I-287 going across the middle of the county. So it begins, I guess, in Elmsford to the north and then to the south, both and generally in the town of Greenburgh. But they are long routes. I think one is about 15 miles, the other about 20 miles. And they represent a prominent bicycling route, a prominent jogging route. I know that Sherry doesn't live too far from it in Dobbs Ferry. She's no doubt been out there exercising because she is very fit and make sure she runs and bikes. Some of us don't do that, but some of us do. And on the western side of the county, in fact, anywhere in the county you can drive, there are places where you can park and access the trailway. And to name it in honor of Andrew O'Rourke, we think is a fitting tribute to a man who's accomplished much. We have tried to show recognition of people that have made major accomplishments to Westchester County during this administration. We made much of the service of Reginald Lafayette when we renamed the county office building in Mount Vernon in his honor. Significant building located almost exactly where he practiced for many, many years his service to the city of Mount Vernon and to the county of Westchester. So this is another one of those opportunities. And we've just, we've renamed conference rooms in this building for some of our early county executives as well. And in a second, I'll mention one more recognition that we have coming up. But it's important to do this insofar as a society, I believe, we're losing our sense of history. We perhaps find it boring in the current society to focus on entertainment for the day and the moment. We know who the basketball players of today are, but we don't know who the great basketball players are of yesteryear. We know what music is contemporary right now, but we have no idea of the flow of music over an extended period of time and people who made tremendous contributions in that field. And it's certainly true in the world of government. We know Washington and Lincoln and Roosevelt were the great presidents of the United States, but the Westchester County that we experience today, the parks that we have, the infrastructure that we have, the services we have, were all created by decision makers before us who took a certain amount of risk, allocated a certain amount of resources, but built things in this area that aren't replicated everywhere. We're the first place in the nation that ever had a planned amusement park. And think about that. Before there was Disneyland, Disney World, before there was Universal Studios, the very first planned amusement park was here in Westchester County. The first planned limited access highway was the Bronx River Parkway, planned here in Westchester County. Those are brilliant people of bygone era, and we do well to remember their contributions and to remember their names too. And what we hope is that not just those of us who are practicing government today, but those who will be doing so in the future, young people who see this, recognize that each generation gets to make its contribution during its time in the arena. And the most important way to encourage the next generation to make those contributions is to recognize the contributions of past generations. And so therefore the Andrew P. O'Rourke Westchester County Trailway. And we salute him. His family, members of his family were present. The members of his governmental family were present at the time, and we're very happy that we could do that. We have some additional commemoration ahead of us now, coming with September 11th. This year, we've divided our commemoration into two parts. Ken will explain the first part, and I'll explain the second part. Ken.
Thanks, George. So we're going to have, as County Executive Latimer just pointed out, a two-day event to honor the memory of the residents who perished in the tragic events of September 11th, 2001, as well as those who have succumbed to 9/11 related illnesses. This will feature an interfaith prayer vigil tomorrow, September 10th, and a September 11th memorial service on Wednesday, fostering unity and remembrance. The Interfaith Prayer Vigil is going to be, again, tomorrow, September 10th, at 5 p.m. at Kensico Dam Plaza, right at the Rising and 9/11 First Responders Memorial. This vigil is going to honor the memory of our Westchester County residents who were killed on 9/11 and those who have died from 9/11 related illnesses, and it's going to bring together representatives from the Christian, Jewish, Hindu and Muslim communities together for prayer and include candle lighting and a ceremonial wreath laying at the 9/11 steel beam from the Twin Towers.
That is the service we intend to have on Tuesday evening, September 10th, beginning at 5 o'clock. We'll also have representatives we have found subsequently from the Buddhist community that will be there as well. So we'll be touching all of the different large religious traditions. Then on September 11th, Wednesday, we have our ceremony at the same location, at the location of the Rising, the sculpture that was created a number of years ago, almost 20 years ago, to commemorate what happened that day. It is at Kensico Dam Plaza. If you're entering the plaza from the south, looking to the north, which is where the dam is, it is to your right, and at that point, it's the eastern part of the park. At 3 o'clock, we will have a formal ceremony at that time. We're going to hear from families who lost loved ones on 9/11, those that were civilians that died, and those that were first responders that died that day. And because of our proximity to New York City, what happened on 9/11 has a real impact to those of us who live here. We knew people there. I worked with one individual who died that day, had any number of community friends who we also lost on that day. We also want to honor those who have died from 9/11 related illnesses. And a couple of years ago, we created a wall of remembrance. I noticed a number of municipalities are doing that now. A couple of them are going to launch off on this set of commemorations, but we did it 2 years ago. And unfortunately, that is a list of names that continues to grow, because men and women that participated in clearing out the pile, the remnant of what happened when the towers came down, involved backbreaking work and, as it has turned out, exposure to dangerous chemicals that have created illnesses, cancer, and other things that have cut short the normal life expectancy of individuals. So we have people now who are, in their 50s. They were in their 20s when they worked on the pile, or the 30s, and they're in their 40s or 50s now, and now they have a serious disease that will lead to cutting short their life by 15, 20, 25 years. It is a sad reality to accept. There's other public policy levels of discussion to be had about that, but as a community, we want to remember those people. We now do on our Wall of Remembrance. Unfortunately, we'll add some additional names to that on 9/11 as well. And it's a very emotional time. It's very real for those of us who remember it. But it's also important to remember that the years will go by. We've already seen 23 years elapse from 2001 to 2024. And to the future, there will come a day where no one alive at that time will have a personal memory of what happened that day. I don't have any knowledge, and I'm not sure who's alive now in Westchester County that could remember hearing the news that World War I had broken out, or in some cases, even Pearl Harbor. We have some folks of centenarian ages that can remember that, but not as many as the whole society. So we want to make sure that when we honor in this year, 23rd year of the anniversary, what we're doing will stand the length of time, and that generations who are yet to be born, those who were just babies then and those who are young adults now, will come to understand that what happened on that day and the tragedy that was that day is something that we live with. And as we showed from our volunteer work with Volunteer New York, we want to try to reposition that day not only as a day of remembrance for what happened on that day, but a day of public service, that we now help our fellow citizens in the spirit of sacrifice that was reflected in the people that we lost that day. Those first responders knew that they were facing almost certain death by rising in that tower. The civilians who were trapped in an area where they could not escape showed bravery and respect for each other when they lost their lives that day. That is what we're trying to pay homage to in these two ceremonies, and also by the things that we do every day. So please join us for one or both of those ceremonies. As Ken pointed out, the Tuesday night, September 10th, that's tomorrow night as we're speaking today on Monday at 5 o'clock, 3 o'clock on Wednesday afternoon. I point out whenever we do this that most local governments, most local communities are also having 9/11 remembrances on Wednesday the 11th. We put ours at 3 o'clock. We looked around and saw who was doing what, and we tried to position it away from other existing ones so that if you live in one of the other municipalities, either in the morning or in the evening, there will be local remembrances and it won't conflict with what we're doing at the county level. So please look in your local area and find out which of those things are happening. In the spirit of remembrance, we just talked a little bit about honoring the memory of Andrew O'Rourke, who served 15 years as county executive. The building that we're in, the county office building, was dedicated a number of years ago in the memory of Edwin G. McCallion, who was the fourth Westchester County Executive. He served the longest tenure. I mentioned that County Executive O'Rourke served for 15 years. County Executive McCallion served for 16 years. He came in 1958, and he departed in 1973, the beginning of 1974. So this is the 50th year since his departure as County Executive. And what we think of as the modern Westchester, when I alluded a few minutes ago to major corporations moving from New York City to Westchester County, IBM, PepsiCo, et cetera, that happened during the years of Ed McCallion. I-287, I-684 happened during the years of Ed McCallion. It is inconceivable to think that you could go from Tarrytown to Portchester and not have an interstate highway to drive on. That was the Westchester that Ed McCallion took over in 1958, and it completely changed by the time he left in 1974. With that respect, we are going to have a ceremony in front of the McCallion office building this Friday, September 13th at 10 a.m. on our front steps. We will honor Ed McCallion for his service. We are also going to reflect the fact that he was of Armenian descent, Armenian-American descent, and we will be giving an award, the Edwin O. McCallion Award for Distinguished Public Official, to Mayor Nancy Kabulian of Ardsley, who is also of Armenian-American descent. And that is something that we think is appropriate. We also have a award for public service to John Voparian, who works for Westchester County. He's a White Plains resident, very active in the White Plains community, in the Historical Society and so forth. So we're going to recognize those two prominent individuals. We will have some representatives from the Armenian Church, St. Gregory's, happens to be here in White Plains as well, as part of that, and to once again show that we respect the memory and the history that was created. There's so many things that have been done under the Ed McCallion administration. It boggles the mind. I've often said if there was a Mount Rushmore for county executives, it would be Ed McCallion, it would be Aldo Bello, it would be Andy O'Rourke for the works they've done, and certainly as one of their successors, whatever we've done, pales in comparison to the accomplishments that they did. And I have great respect for those men. I knew some of them in active life, some of them I only read about in the newspapers, but they all created a tremendous platform upon which we live on. So on Friday, we honor Ed McCallion, and we make sure that that tradition continues. But in the here and now, we do our services every day, and one of the ones that we always like to close out with is what's happening in our county parks. Some of those parks got here through Ed McCallion, some through Aldo Bello, some through Andy O'Rourke, some through Andy Spano, some through James Hopkins, Herb Gerlach, and William Blakely, and Rob Astorino. All of them contributed, and Ken's going to tell you what we're doing with those damn parks right now.
Thanks, George. And certainly this week in parks, on Friday, there's so many events, obviously around 9/11, the two events that we just mentioned, that in recognition of the 23rd recognition of 9/11. So the first event we're going to talk about is on Friday, which is the mall walk that happens in the Westchester. It actually happens every Tuesday and Friday from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. So you can go at your own pace, get motivated, join a group of inspiring people who've expanded this program into a small community. Again, 8 to 10 a.m. at the Westchester for mall walk. Also on Friday, we have at Lasden Park and Arboretum in Katona. That's actually going to be on Saturday. The 14th, Lasden Park and Arboretum in Katona. The history of Lasden Park. This is going to be a tour that will focus on the history and highlights of the Lasden Arboretum. You'll get a chance to walk and examine the William and Mildred Memorial Garden, the magnolias, the trees, the lilacs, conifers, azalea garden, as well as the Lasden House and history. Again, as County Executive always points out, our job is to make sure to invest in what we've been given, and in Lasden House, in the Lasden Mansion there, you'll see the work that your track stalls have done. So again, history of Lasden on Saturday from 10 to 11 a.m. at Lasden Park and Arboretum in Katona. On Sunday, we have the Alfred B. Del Bello Muscoot Farm in Somers, County Executive Del Bello Muscoot Farm in Somers. The farmers market is from 9:30 to 2:30. That's going to happen every Sunday until November 17th. It features more than 25 local vendors every Sunday. You'll be able to support our farmers and the sustainable efforts in our area. So again, that's on Sunday, September 15th. And finally, we'll talk about the Bronx River Parkway. Aforementioned Bronx River Parkway Bicycle Sundays continue 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., where you can bike, walk, or jog the 13.1-mile loop of the Bronx River Parkway from White Plains to Yonkers. The portion of the parkway is closed for cars for exclusive use of non-motorized bicycles, scooters, as well as inline skaters, walkers, and joggers, and that goes right until October 13th. And certainly there's some other festival things around the way, especially in Scarsdale with the Farmers Market, and continue there. And with that, we'll turn back to the county executive.
Ken. I want to thank you very much for watching. I want to thank our guests, Mayor Rika Levin of Ossining, Jennifer Crawford, who's with us here from our Offices of Senior Services and Programs, Natasha Caputo and Sherry Asher for their contribution today. All of our communications team, the work that goes into this is really tremendous. And so to Catherine Chaffee, Carolyn Fortino, Tony Fasciano, Chelsea Pagano, John Borst, they all do yeoman's work, and they should be credited publicly for the work that they do. We try to communicate, every week and give you certain basic information. It's here for those who find it of interest, but at least there's a lot of communications open on an ongoing basis. Lots of things going on this week. We hope that you will attend, if not the county, then one of the ones in your local community, the 9/11 commemoration. It's an important thing to do, I think, and we all owe that debt of gratitude to all those people who lost their lives that day. I'm George Latimer, Westchester County Executive. Thank you for watching. Be safe and have a good week.